Hey guys, today we're going to be briefly talking about Uchimawashi geri. Now, Uchimawashi geri in this form, rather than the follow-through form, but the form where we're retracting, is different to a typical technique like a mawashi geri in terms of the direction that we're moving our pelvis. So typically with mawashi geri, we're moving our pelvis away from the direction of the kick, whereas with Uchimawashi geri, we're moving the pelvis towards. With the mawashi geri, we're rotating through the pelvis as hard and as fast as we can to try and produce power in the kick. With the uchimawashi geri, it's more of a slow turn, so we're not able to generate quite as much force, and so we are having to rely a little bit more on the flexion of the hip and then also the extension of the knee to really get that snap and that flick at the end of the technique.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please check out my book, The Science of Striking, a complete guide to strength and conditioning for combat sports.
Because we are relying on the extension of the hip or the flexion of the hip, it's useful to try and preload with a little bit of hip extension. So essentially moving our body away from the leg. So this is all on stretch here. And then from there, bringing the leg up, so starting to flex the hip. And then as you bring the knee up and start to extend at the knee joint, that's when we're starting to rotate the hips towards the target. Okay? So even though we can't turn the hips as fast as we would with the mawashi geri, if we can time it properly to get that nice preloaded hip extension, hip flexion, knee extension, and then turning the pelvis towards the target, okay, it's still possible to get enough speed and power, and if it's timed well and we land it flush on the opponent's jaw, we can still potentially get a knockout that way. Now, because we want that preloaded hip extension before we start to kick, that's why it's useful to set this up as a feint. So we might be feinting a couple of get on mawashi geri or even mae geri, and then from there hold the kick a little bit longer. So rather than turning the hips and extending at the same time, we're turning and here, turning back the other way, coming off that feint and throwing the kick out that way. So I hope that's useful. Try making those little tweaks to your Uchimawashi geri and see if it helps with the technique. Thanks for watching.